Well, good afternoon. Welcome everyone to another In Training webinar from In Alliance. My name is Darius Bryjka and I'm joined by Todd Tracy. Todd, you want to say hello?
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today.
Excellent. The audio is working, so we're very happy that you can hear both of us. Both Todd and I are principals with In Alliance, and for those of you that don't know our firm, we're a small consulting firm based in central and southern Illinois, and we specialize in historic preservation, economic development, and nonprofit management projects with a particular emphasis on the Main Street four-point approach towards downtown revitalization. And today's topic, we're going to sort of bring in all the previous webinar topics together. Todd's passion is youth entrepreneurship, and mine is historic preservation. So we're going to try to tie them both. Before we proceed with the topic today, a few housekeeping duties I wanted to go over. We're using the GoToWebinar interface for today's presentation, so you should have a dashboard on your screen that will allow you to select one of two audio options to participate today. One is to use the mic and speakers of your computer. Alternatively, you can dial in via the telephone number that's provided. You will also be able to ask us questions, and with luck, we will be able to answer all of them. There are two ways that you can participate with us. One is to type them into the questions box at any time during the webinar. And actually, this is the preferred method. If you really have to ask a question, you can raise your hand in a traditional classroom style option. But again, in order for us to stay on topic and avoid any technological snafus, we would prefer if you typed it into the questions box, and we'll answer all of the questions at the end. Furthermore, the webinar is being recorded, so when it's over, we will email you a link to the recorded session for future reference, and also you'll be asked to fill out a brief survey, and we would really appreciate your feedback on today's session, as well as any future topics as we strive to develop additional topics and make them as useful as possible. So that's it for housekeeping, and now on to our topic. Kids love history. So I think no one really questions, and by no one I mean you all participating in the sort of downtown revitalization community at large. Nobody questions that we need to engage the youth into downtown redevelopment efforts, and that's because they're going to be the next tenant of the historic downtown. But I think in order to be successful, we sort of have to rethink downtown revitalization and kind of include children in the planning and the actual redevelopment, not just their current needs, but anticipating what their future needs may be. A lot of efforts, our current downtown redevelopment efforts, tend to be geared towards or centered around nostalgia of the past. We're trying to recreate various activities that our generations and the previous generations remembered. And that's great for us, but not so much for the youth, because they weren't there to experience those activities, and they don't have that connection, that emotional connection with the past that we're trying to revive. That doesn't mean that we can't bring back some of those activities, but we also have to make sure that the youth has a connection with the downtown. And so the positive aspect of this is that the youth also don't remember the slow neglect of the downtown, the years of decline, or the many failed attempts at revitalization. To them, downtown is a place, and certainly they have some opinions and thoughts about it, but they have far fewer psychological obstacles in the way of uh, of of taking these challenges on. Whereas we have all of this emotional and mental baggage. Oh, this was done before, and this failed, and this is how it used to be, and could never be this way. The youth and kids don't think of downtown in that manner, and that's a good thing, because if we can provide a connection for them, connect them with the downtown as a place, then they will develop their own memories and connections, and then they'll, once they choose to take over, become the next tenant, they're going to be in a better position to be successful. And so the first step in engaging the youth and bringing kids downtown is to make sure that we have a welcoming and friendly environment for them. And so there are many examples of the slides of these scenes like you see on the screen. No skateboarding, no bicycles, no rollerblading. Well, it might as well say no laughing, no fun, and no children. That's not a welcoming sign for the next tenant. So we have to think of that when we develop these kinds of procedures, and are we causing more harm than good by creating signs like that and policies that exclude children from participating in downtown activities? So, and when we say youth, we mean youth of all ages. So obviously smaller kids are going to have different considerations and things that are into, and then up to the teenage years, those kids of that age are going to have different things that they care about and are into. But a couple other sort of food for thought for smaller kids, for example, they want to perceive the world, not just downtown, from an adult perspective. So they like to walk on elevated surfaces such as planters or benches, higher curbs, to see what we're seeing. And the same thing goes for signage. What you see on a screen is about the only thing that they see with ease, because it's at their feet. Everything else is adult-oriented. It's difficult for them to see, and all of that contributes to this environment of, well, more of exclusion than inclusion. It's an adult-oriented world, and there is very little for them to feel like they're being included and for them to participate in. So, and I wish we could have shown you some examples of kids-oriented or accessible signage, but there's just too few examples out there, and I think that's going to be one of the factors that has to improve. So once we have this welcoming environment for children, the next thing is to simply have activities against the backdrop of a historic downtown for them to develop that connection that we already have, and for them to create memories of their own that they can then use throughout their life to come back and keep coming back to the downtown. So the level of activities, again, it's going to be different for kids of different groups, but simply being able to go with your parents or your siblings or friends to a local bakery and enjoy ice cream and sweets, those are memories. To be in a downtown parade or to watch it again with your friends, family, that's a memory. To go and ride your bike downtown in a safe manner, obviously, but those are memories. And just doing the daily regular activities that you can do anywhere else in the downtown is important. And then you can obviously have special activities that you can build off of, build upon, and we have more examples coming up. But one could be enjoying a movie in a historic movie theater, and it could be a class field trip that kids can participate in. And again, you're exposing them to the historic downtown. You're showing things that they associate with the mall or with newer theaters in a historic setting. All of those things over time will add up to a connection for them. And then we also have to keep in mind, or always keep in mind, what children and youth are into. And this is more, this is less of a smaller children consideration, but the youth of our generation, of today's age, they want to be, they are digitally connected, they're into social media, they want to be in touch with their friends. They have Android smartphones, iPhones, iPads, and they stay in touch that way. That is very important to them. So if the historic downtown has a perception of being a digital dead zone, they're going to be reluctant to go into it. So I know this isn't a new concept, Wi-Fi downtown, but I think it's always been considered from a business perspective. But if we think about what kids are into and that they want to stay connected, we need to make sure that they can do that. And again, providing the same amenities that are available everywhere else is very important to have downtown. So a lot of businesses already do that on their own, but if that quality is going to vary from establishment to establishment, it's going to be very difficult to have that continuity. So we really need to work towards having good and free Wi-Fi zones in the areas that we want kids to enter and stay and enjoy themselves in. So we want them to be able to text or message their friends that they're having a great time downtown so they can join them. So that's very important to consider. There are a few historic preservation-based activities I wanted to highlight and point out. And for most of these, we have additional slides that we can show you. So we'll talk about architectural treasure hunts. A photography contest, I don't have an additional slide, so let me talk about it now. It's a great way to engage kids of all ages, really, and educate them about the downtown while having fun. You know, you can have a contest through the Main Street organization or through school, preferably through both. You know, they can take photographs of different buildings, different scenes, and it's something fun for them to do, and that's also educational at the same time. It exposes them to the architecture, to the community, to the area. Another extension of that could be a art project, like a painting or a different sort of art contest. And the judging can also take place downtown. That's another opportunity to bring not just the children but their families back to the downtown. So, and that sort of ties in with interaction and having objects and activities that allow for that, not just observing, but for more interaction with art, sculpture, buildings, the entire environment of the downtown. So, and Todd can later elaborate on reenactment and living history, which are a huge opportunity for youth engagement. So a couple more examples of this kind of engagement. The Illinois Historic Preservation Agency has a great program called Build Your Own Main Street, which are scaled architectural models of real buildings in many Illinois communities that people can download and construct out of, printed out on 8.5 by 11 sheets of cardstock and then construct. So that's a great activity. I know that's been very popular in the past. And along with that, and other states also have coloring books and pages of actual real buildings in their historic downtowns, which is another way to engage kids of all ages. So, and those become school activities. So those are good things that are already exist that can be utilized at a local community level. So the first 4 points are sort of the focus of today. We want to essentially talk about creating a fun and welcoming environment and how to engage youth in that way. There is a fifth consideration that we'll mention, but we're not going to necessarily develop it any further today, which is to engage youth in actual downtown improvement activities. So if you have a Main Street program that does facade renovation projects or downtown cleanups, that's an opportunity for kids to participate in as well. But the main difference, or what needs to be established from the get-go, is that it needs to be differentiated from doing the adults' dirty work. It has to be something that they're really, really into, and it's great when it becomes or comes about from their own initiative rather than simply recruiting them to do these things for us. If they perceive it that way, they're not going to be engaged, and they're not going to have a positive opinion of it's going to be another chore, and that's not what we need for them to consider downtown as. So this has to be sculpted very carefully. The another consideration regarding that is that once that there may be a possibility to actually to develop these activities into professional development, since we are in desperate need of craftsmen in our communities in the historic preservation field, and we have buildings to work on and improve. Why not merge the two, the need and the opportunity, and to develop these craftsmen in our own communities? This obviously requires lots of planning and development in order for it to be done safely and in a useful way. It will require interaction and cooperation, coordination with the schools and professionals that are already very skilled and willing to teach people in these fields. But it is a huge opportunity that that's before us. So on to exploring some additional of these historic activities. Architectural treasure hunts exist and have existed in countless communities across the country, and they're just a super fun way of engaging people, but primarily children. The basic principle is that you show various details of architecture throughout the community, throughout the downtown, and then you ask people to find them. And then you can connect it with prizes and those kinds of things as well. But they're great activities that, and if your downtown is large enough, you can have them annually, and you can rotate buildings and details and features, and there are generally a countless resources for those kinds of activities. But they're just great programs in order to engage kids of all ages, bring their parents downtown as well. They're fun, they're educational, and then they can also be combined with tours that are developed just for kids. So the Architectural Treasure Hunt has already been recognized as one of those cool programs, and we certainly encourage continuing development of that. I mentioned a photography contest. The two can be further merged, and you could have a Flickr page or additional websites that are developed to showcase photographs taken by youth throughout the downtown, and then maybe those photos are utilized for the scavenger hunt programs. So this is a great way to engage children and give them an active role in discovering and maintaining our heritage downtown. As far as interacting with history-related art and sculpture, there are some art that is and sculpture or objects that are overtly historic, like, well, this, for example, statue or sculpture of Abraham Lincoln, whose shiny nose is a favorite part to a subject of children. They want to pick his nose or rub it, do whatever to it. So, and that's interaction, and obviously the massive scale also draws them to him. Now, he's not downtown, he's by the cemetery, but you get the point. The more that of those kinds of engagements that we have, the less history is perceived as being boring, as static, and allows children to engage in it in a fun way. The other photo is of a boot in Red Wing, Minnesota. Now, the boot itself is not a historic object, and it obviously relates to the Red Wing Shoe Company that Red Wing is famous for. But this is another less or more inconspicuous way of linking history and bringing people downtown and children downtown, because these in this particular instance, and there are other communities that have similar programs, you have a number of these enlarged shoes or boots throughout the community, and they're all painted or decorated in different manner. And most of them, a lot of them, have historic themes that are related and have historic scenes or different things incorporated into the boot itself. So it's the reason to go downtown is not so we can, do boring history stuff, but to do fun stuff of which history is part of. So it's that kind of approach that we have to take in order for kids to really become engaged with the community. And then another layer of that that provides even more engagement and allows them to take ownership is to let them contribute to the development of the art or the sculpture. So my kids love drawing with chalk in the driveway, and sometimes it drives me crazy, but then I realize that it's just chalk and it's just going to wash away with the next rain. Why not downtown, and why not link that with an historic event? Again, this is another contest opportunity of some sort, but it allows the kids, to be themselves, doing something that they love doing in a constructive, non-harmful way, but downtown. And then they take ownership of that. They're proud. They want to bring their friends or parents and show them what they've done. And that's what we need. That's what we want. And then the other slide is of a young woman, young girl, helping the Wall Dog muralists repainting a historic mural downtown. When Wall Dogs come to town, or different muralists, that's an event in of itself, and a lot of people come to watch them paint, and sometimes help out. They're very welcoming and encouraging, and kids can participate in that as well. There's no reason why they shouldn't. And again, if they actually put that brush and contribute to the painting of the mural, which then becomes part of the community, now they have a very real connection to the downtown. And those kinds of experiences are what we should be creating for children of all ages. So that's it for my part of the presentation. Now I'm going to turn it over to Todd.
All right, thanks, Darius. Darius has outlined some of the more architecturally / artistic qualities that are inherent to every downtown community. I'm going to take this a little step further now and demonstrate, in communities and how that we can bring this more alive. for the children. History is an exciting adventure for children of many ages, but somehow in our conventional educational system we tend to lose this notion because kids tend to associate history with dates and you always have the quote unquote dead people that they don't that they have difficulty connecting with. There's nothing that will draw kids back into history quite like allowing them to dress up and enjoy an event, and always in a period attire. Feeling like they're a part of downtown and the regional history will capture a part of their heart, which will explode into a true love of history and a remembrance of their many adventures. It's very important from that point of view that we engage their imagination and couple that with hands-on adventures that can take place in the downtown area. There's all kinds of ways of engaging in history. It doesn't always have to be a national designation for a reason to participate in history. Each one of our communities has its own particular history, and of course it's tied to the regional history, which is tied to its state's history, which in turn is tied to the national history. And there's all kinds of events that can take place on a monthly basis, or even more often than that from time to time within the community, whether it be from parades or participations, or just simply getting together and dressing up and acting out different points of history. One thing that we need to consider is what exactly is history. You have to realize that here in 2012, our teenagers were born in 1999. So if you think about it, to our teenagers, history starts in the 1990s and goes back further from that starting point. So even when you look at doing living history and reenactments, you don't necessarily have to go back to the revolutionary time of our formation of this country. You can go back a mere 10, 20 years and get together and enjoy music on the sidewalk and dress up in attire that was considered to be in fashion of that day. So getting together for somebody my age and wearing clothes that we wore in high school in the 1980s can be a very much of a reliving your own history and engaging in something that can be very fun, that not only is adaptable to the adults, but of course the children can enjoy it as well. You can always open up to various community members and ask them to dig through their closets and come up with something for the kids to wear. It's a very inexpensive way to get kids involved in dressing up. We all remember our own children and the neighbors' children who like to put on our shoes and wear different hats that were too large for them. Those are very good ways to get kids enjoyed and have a particular event going on the downtown for them to dress in period attire, no matter what period that you're in. Something that there's always someone in every community that can take almost any stitch of a pattern and make something out of it. Make anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Kids just like to play dress up, and what you'll find is oftentimes the adults like to continue with that tradition. When they're just having fun, you can cross over from many periods from time to time. Kids have a very difficult time in understanding how those dates actually relate. And the younger the child are, the counting to 100 seems to be an eternity, whereas a million or a billion is conceivable by us as we learn to become adults. So you can cross over time periods with the drop of a hat, or as I like to say, just put on a different hat and be that person the next day. There's special thrills for younger visitors at any Living History Day. I recommend always trying to make a special area designated specifically for children so that they feel that they have a special place that they can interact with their peers. Give them a free passport to another era that will provide them access to maybe games that were popular in the past. A simple game of croquet or pickup sticks or jacks are rarely played by today's children, and they will find that very interesting and very fun for the time that they're visiting your Main Street. Children love to make up old-fashioned arts and crafts, such as painting, and simply any handcrafted item, even at the smallest of items. They'll cherish it as a souvenir to take home from an event. And don't forget to have your event volunteers, a handful of them. Give them digital cameras, but have them set their camera to black and white and sepia tone if you're recreating an event that took place prior to the 1960s. It gives a chance for the children to see them in photographs near the nature that they were at the time that they were taken. And then when you get back from the event, have those volunteers upload them to every social media site that you can get them to. Add them to the Flickrs, add them to the Facebooks, add them where parents and friends can download those photographs and enjoy those for years to come. Youth on Main Street, when you're engaging them in these type of activities, can actually be a separate committee, and that can be under the promotion committee or even the organization committee. But it allows for youth to attend regular meetings. Help them design their own activities that they would like to participate in. Because if they design it, they have much more pressure that they can put on to their peers in order for them to join in these various activities. Young citizens today, we teach them as we grow up as parents, we want our children to be responsible for as much as they possibly can be for. And how better to engage them in the community than to have them actually as a member of an organizational governance such as a Main Street, to where that they can have input and they can see the fruition of their labors come about in a way that they can understand it, instead of just ways that the adults are giving them their own direction. Of course, something near and dear to my heart is something regarding youth entrepreneurship. In other words, engaging youth in actual business activities instead of just merely talking about it, and how giving children the understanding that entrepreneurship is a career opportunity also. How better to take those vacant historic buildings? You're always looking for alternate uses for those buildings. How about taking one of them, two of them, possibly even three if you have that many, and converting those over to youth-based businesses, mentoring our business people of tomorrow in your own downtown, creating an innovative partnership between the business community, educators, and all their volunteers that you have, all guided through a Main Street organization, can help those young people connect with a relevant learning and the importance of staying in school and becoming a leader. Entrepreneurial programs, statistically and historically, have always encouraged students to develop their competitive skills and therefore their confidence level. The success that an entrepreneurship program can have in your downtown bolsters the local workforce and contributes to the economic growth when the downtown opens those vacant spaces to those youth business ventures, all being taken place in the historic building that has lacked for a tenant for some time. There's many resources out there, and then it's impossible in this particular talk to give that many out there, but of course we always want to promote the Main Street program, and there was a good issue that came out in January and February of this year called Youth on Main Street in the Main Street Now magazine. If you don't currently have it, get a copy of it. In Alliance does monthly and sometimes more often webinars as topics come available. We base a lot of our trainings on requests from our customers and friends and associates as to what they're most wanting to gain some quick and basic information about. Our next webinar will be on November the 13th. It's called Beyond Promotion, Integrating Real Economic Development into Your Downtown Program. And the concept of this is how that the Main Street type organization, your downtown organization, can engage that budding entrepreneur in activities that actually give some viable research and reports and good statistical data to help that entrepreneur make decisions. In other words, at the end of the day, what does the entrepreneur actually want to make a viable assessment, and what, as a downtown organization, can we give them? I'd like to open it up now for questions. This is Darius and I's contact information. Please check out our website, inalliance.biz. Not only our upcoming in-training webinars listed on there, but also our past webinars that are free for you to view at any time, or also have links on there at that time. So I'd like to open it up to questions now.
I see that no one has, this is Darius again, I see that no one has asked any questions. We can hang on for another minute. If you have any questions, now is the time to ask. But as Todd mentioned, we're available to answer your questions after today. Our phone numbers again are on the screen, and email addresses as well. So since I don't see any questions, I think we're going to let you go, and thank you again for joining us this afternoon. We hope you found the information useful. Again, we will follow up with a link to the recorded session and a brief survey, and we really hope that you'll take our survey. It's very brief, but it does help us a lot in preparing future topics. So thank you again, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.